All right, welcome everyone. We're Semblance of Sanity. I'm Caleb.
I'm Jacob.
And we're here, of course, for Psychopaths. This is episode 17.
Right, the one after Kaguri died.
He was so young. So much to live for. So much enforcing to do. But
Too soon?
But yeah.
So,
this is a really intense game changer of an episode.
Oh yeah.
In terms of what happened, the previous one is the game changer, but this one can be even bigger if they build upon it by letting us know, okay, what is going to happen now that they've captured Makishima.
Right. Kaguri's dead.
2, started to unveil things about Sibyl System.
Right.
Kaguri's died, and now this whole incident seems to be well under wraps. What changes will be implemented because things are now in this topsy-turvy state?
Sure. So I could see this episode maybe being a little bit slower just because it's coming off of that crazy climax.
Yeah, but they could really take this into some scary places.
Oh yeah, it's all new territory from here because we're past the point where we thought it was going to end.
Yep.
So
and there's still a lot of episodes left, Jacob.
There are.
All right, let's get into this episode and see what happens.
It's like a goddamn pandemic swept through.
A psychohazard is a disease of the mind. When it spreads, it's the same as a plague.
Makishima was a monster who will haunt this town for years.
It's way too early to talk in the past tense, honey. Hell, we don't even know what kind of sentence he'll get. The judiciary's been abolished for years.
It's the chief. She wants to see me.
Yeah, special communique.
Yep.
The Minister of Welfare has formed a special team to investigate and prosecute all the Makishima cases. In short, you and the PSB no longer have any authority on it.
Yeah.
Makishima will be treated as a lab sample, then disposed of.
Yeah.
If he hasn't been already. Instead of worrying about a captured criminal, don't you have a bigger problem on your hands back at Division 1? An enforcer escaped in the attack, and the trail's already cold.
Hold on. There's no evidence he ran away.
The Sibyl System has been restored to full power. The only reason Kaguri hasn't been picked up yet is because he knows how to avoid the drones.
That's bullshit. Give me one good reason why.
Yep.
You can't talk to your superior this way.
I don't give a damn about our ranks right now. Don't you think it's strange we're not allowed to question the mass murderer we arrested?
Yeah.
This isn't my decision.
But at this point, this is them being funneled into finding out the Sibyl System's identity.
Right.
It's been a long time, Shogo.
I knew it!
It's nice to see you haven't changed at all. A long time ago, you let me borrow a book. It got lost in the shuffle when I had a little run-in with the law.
What the heck?
I found a replacement.
This is a surprise. You're not you. You're Kozaburo Toma.
Are you kidding me?
Hard to believe it's been 3 years, isn't it?
Whoa.
That's an entirely different body.
Recall that your recent accomplice, Toyohisa Senguchi, achieved a passable form of whole-body cyberization.
Oh my gosh.
But this form is of a build quality that not even the richest private citizen could afford. You can't tell the difference between this body and a real one, can you? The only element left of the Kozaburo Toma you knew is his brain.
Oh!
What's really going on here?
The truth of the matter is I'm not the only Kase. I'm not always the one controlling this particular version of her.
Wow.
Each one of our brains is kept unitized and healthy. This allows for them to be easily swapped.
Yep.
Basically, we each take turns piloting this android body. In truth, it's a nice diversion from our everyday activities.
The Sibyl System.
You know us all as the Sibyl System.
Right. Holy crap.
There's no way in hell Kaguri would suddenly go AWOL. Sure, he gets worked up, but he's not the type to run off. He weighed his options a long time ago, and he chose the Enforcer life. Kaguri disappeared because someone made it happen.
Oh my gosh.
What in the hell am I looking at here? It's the truth. The real form of the Sibyl System.
Wow.
Oh my gosh.
It's a PDP architecture. Basically supercomputers performing parallel distributed processing in a massive network. Sybyl's ability to use a knowledge base and perform inferences is not achieved by performance gains in what we think of as conventional computing. Rather, by organically expanding a system that was already able to do those things, and then parallelizing it, we were able to achieve exponential increases over baseline performance. The Sibyl System currently comprises 247 member brains. So long as a minimum of 200 of the members are connected and in session, the system is able to continuously monitor and judge the psychopasses of every person in the country.
What a farce.
Sybyl's members may be organic, but we are able to judge and supervise the people because we are so different from them. The first qualification needed to be a member is a rare personality.
Yep. Yes. Criminally asymptomatic.
One that does not fit in with society by virtue of being unable to empathize with the suffering of others. One that does not become lost in emotion. One that is clinical and detached. A personality that observes other humans as if they are strange animals in a zoo. I'm like you, a person whose crime coefficient can't be measured by reading his psychopaths. A personality that even Sybyl's collective intelligence can't measure is said to be criminally asymptomatic.
When it's actually something
Not only are such
else.
people incredibly rare, their way of observing represents a new value system. By incorporating more of the criminally asymptomatic into its fold, Sibyl is expanding its cognitive frontiers, opening up new areas in society for the application of collective intelligence. It was strange at first, but I quickly came to see and embrace its splendor.
Wow.
It's a kind of omnipotence. By sharing my cognition with dozens of other minds, I can understand and judge all of society. I feel like a god from a pantheon of ancient myth. You can understand what I'm describing, can't you, Shogo?
Wow.
Of course. It's not hard to imagine.
Ours is a world of maddening contradictions, and it isolated and oppressed both of us for too long. But we needn't dwell on that. We can be proud of the gift fate has bestowed, and the noble mission we can accomplish. The time has come to join us and put your gifts to use judging society.
So you want me, or rather my brain, to become the newest member of the Sibyl System, right?
Let me remind you, this invitation is a courtesy, as we could simply make you a member by force. But people only have real value when they act on their own impulses and desires. You said that, right?
Sorry, but becoming part of some brain farm collective isn't exactly my dream.
Yeah.
Actually, joining Sibyl shouldn't impede your individualism or independence in the slightest. Even in this cyborg body, I'm still able to maintain a sense of myself as Kozaburo Tomo. We can begin your transfer before we even get to the Ministry of Welfare with the equipment we have on hand. The mass-murdering Shogo Makishima known to the public will disappear along with his body.
You sound like the doctor in Balna Barbie.
I'm not familiar.
It's a reference to Gulliver's Travels by Jonathan Swift.
Oh.
It's in part 3. Balna Barbie is where Gulliver visits after the floating island of Laputa. To put an end to partisan politics, a Balna Barbian doctor develops a surgery for politicians. It's for the self-absorbed lot. People who come into this world only to watch and govern its motion. Swift writes that this is the most desirable approach to government.
Oh.
You're
Yeah.
a genius at sarcasm, Shogo.
Yeah.
That's too much credit. The genius is Swift.
Yep. Oh yeah. What makes her think the Dominator is actually going to work?
She can just set it to whatever value she needs.
Oh, sure.
You probably assumed I wouldn't put up a struggle until I figured out my location. But as usual, you aren't very careful, are you? A
She
few
doesn't
minutes
feel a
ago,
thing.
you said before we even get to the Ministry of Welfare. That means we're currently still in transit. And if we're not in the MWPSB, then now is the perfect time for me to make my escape.
Why did you refuse?
Just like a god out of ancient mythology, right? I suppose that would have its moments. But I'm not high on the idea of living out my days in a jar as one of society's umpires. I want the thrill that comes with actually playing in the game.
Yep.
How could you think I'd join you? I love this game with all my heart. But I'd like to keep playing it on my terms for
Until
a
I
while
die.
longer.
Oh yeah! Oh my gosh.
would still be afraid of dying after becoming a god.
Wow!
Oh, crap. Ooh. Nightmare. He felt a disturbance. Okay. Okay. Still dreaming, dude.
Hope you don't mind me calling so late. This is Shinya Kogami's number, right?
He's gonna tell him the truth.
Today I learned the true nature of the Sibyl System.
Yep.
If I were you, I wouldn't want to put my life on the line to protect it anymore. I just thought you deserved to know. Well, see you around, Ko.
Gino, how the hell did he escape?
Who told you that?
Damn it, tell me what happened.
The PSB hasn't confirmed it yet, but the transport plane carrying Makishima,
It appears to have crashed.
Oh my gosh! Here we go, Jacob. Here we go. Okay,
Like-
this is a good story. Oh my god!
And I thought it would slow down.
Well, they did the exposition thing, which
They
did
did,
slow
they did.
it down.
Yes,
But okay. So the artist's father
right.
was integrated into this whole thing, right?
Yes.
Yes.
Or
'Cause he was the mass murderer.
or
right.
no. Or
Yeah.
no. The artist's the girl's father wasn't the mass murderer. She was copying his
Her
art,
teacher.
her father's art style using the methods of the actual killer who was the teacher.
Right. Exactly. Okay.
Right.
So what we
So that's how they brought it back.
That's how they brought it back, because we were actually looking at the artist girl and saying, like,
Why
where's
did
the
they have her
connection?
arc? Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
All the other arcs had some part that they played. Yeah.
So we were right about so many things.
Oh, yeah.
One, criminally asymptomatic people being
Rule
a
society.
key part of ruling society.
Yes.
Because it makes them separate. It makes them essentially the Ubermensch of this
yes,
society.
and that totally
which
makes
is
sense that it's-
disgusting, but it
Oh, yeah.
obviously
Yep.
makes sense.
And if you think about it, that's great too, because there's even with all our advances in technology, there's
Mm-hmm.
so much that just the human body can do that we can't. Right?
Right.
Like the human brain is insane. So
It is.
Instead of it being an artificial intelligence linked with one human brain, it's just a bunch of
constantly
brains.
growing supply.
Yep.
And what they found was they could. There was a lot of kind of pseudoscience speak in there.
Yeah, but that's fine.
Well, no. I was able to track through a
gotcha.
decent bit of it, saying that the computing power of a machine is actually limited based on certain kind of function, not certain functions, but actual, like they were getting into things about like materials and stuff within the brain that were actually helping break that limitation on computers and moving it from linear growth to exponential growth.
Yeah, because
so that was a development that happened 50 years ago that allowed the integration of the human brain
with
to
technology.
Right, and it seemed like they were using the learning capacity of the human brain to link that up with the AI.
Yes.
So AI are just happenstance. Like
Right.
AI is like, oh yeah, AI, who cares? But the idea that the AI could actually render judgment is limited in that it can't actually determine what makes a human being a human being. So they needed something that looked upon human beings as a lesser species that kind of understood it. But even then, they can't fully understand their own kind until they get enough of them so that they could evolve
Sort of a consensus kind of a thing, yeah.
Right, so there's actually a point in this world's history where the Sibyl System existed, but it wasn't the Sibyl System because it didn't work fully yet.
Right, yes.
Which is interesting because we can see points where the Sibyl System has flaws, but their idea is that the Sibyl System will even lose those flaws given enough brains were added
which
to
is
the
one
collection.
of the things that I love, because the idea of some sort of super intelligence, you know, that is stagnant, doesn't
feel right.
It doesn't feel right, and it sort of takes away from the coolness and OP-ness of the super intelligence.
Well, yeah, it makes it less cool, but it also isn't realistic to have something that's beyond human intelligence and have it incapable of learning.
Right.
So their point was that we hit the limit of what AI could do at some point.
Yeah.
And it was wonderful. The AI had so much processing power.
Yep.
But instead they were able to circumvent we need more motherboards and transistors and circuitry and all that, and just added brains with their infinite connections. Have you guys go and look up how many connections of wiring basically there is within one human brain?
Yeah, just the neurons that can synapse and stuff. Yeah,
it's ridiculous.
Yep.
And if you had what they're saying, over 200 of them,
right?
That's ridiculous.
Yes.
So what we can look at is every single case the MWPSB has been put on is basically them searching for more criminally asymptomatic people to add to the stockpile.
Right.
So the whole goal of the MWPSB is not the enforcement of society's laws. That's the Sibyl System. They are there to account for Sibyl System's weaknesses intentionally by bringing those with criminally asymptomatic brains, criminally asymptomatic, to that. When they brought out that term, I feel like I understood the whole thing immediately, because they basically showed their cards. They're like, hey, there's this new classification of people. I'm like, yeah, that's nope, that's crap. That's absolute crap.
Yes. And I'm like, it's kind of surprising that she actually would reveal that much to Ganoza. I mean, I suppose Makishima
to Ganoza she didn't actually reveal as much.
Right, and that was only after Makishima did his whole thing.
Yes.
Right. So correct. Okay. Yes, that's a great point.
I think she's using the kind of the AI's portion in this regard, which is saying it would be tactically sound to bring the highest ranking one under thrall so that we can at least predict their moves.
Yes.
And make
little
sure that
half-truths to...
Exactly, to keep them moving in a direction that they like. One of the things that I see this show moving towards is the disbanding of the MWPSB, because it's no longer needed if they get enough people involved.
Sure.
So...
Although they still need the arms.
Yeah, one of the scary things, though, is that I could see some people looking at this and going, no, this isn't actually needed. I accept the slavery, essentially.
Yeah, and I'm so glad at how they handled Makishima, because he's a bad guy. He's a very bad guy. But at the same time, there were those things that he said that would kind of make sense and be like, oh, yeah, I agree with the philosophy, if not the methods, right? And then showing him basically just being like, this is absolutely stupid. I choose my own individuality and stuff like that. And that was just...
He chooses to play the game.
Exactly.
One of the great movies from, I would think it was the 70s, was War Games.
Yes.
Or I think it might have been the 80s, but it was War Games. And one of the ways that they kind of ended it is a kind of a famous quote, is the only way to win is not to play. And that's what the Sibyl System is. The only way to win and have society be what it is, we need to take all those that are the game players and bring them onto our side and keep them from playing the game.
Right. And Makishima was saying is that that's not winning. There's no point in that.
Right. That's essentially
it defeats the purpose.
Right. That essentially is godhood at a very specific type of game.
Right.
It's saying I acknowledge, yes, that being a god out of Greek mythos, almost, having control over all things would seem, pretty. It would have its moments, is I think what he said. Yeah. But he likes his game way more.
Yeah.
The game of humanity, I think, is actually what Makishima is a true champion of.
Sure.
But the thing is, humanity is messy. Humanity is dirty. Humanity makes lots of mistakes and actually is self-destructive in very specific contexts.
And as they've shown in this show, that's exactly the kind of stuff that he gets interested in the most, because probably because it is so imperfect and...
But you've noticed he has been disappointed with every single test subject up until this point. Because they aren't actually another champion of humanity like him. So one of the things I could see him doing at this point is he sees, hidden within the Sibyl System are 200 brethren of mine.
Okay.
What if I freed them?
Okay.
Now, not freeing them in terms of saying, I'm going to approach you logically and say, I reason that you should be free.
But just separate them all from each other.
But just separate them all. So you pluck one out, and you just forcibly remove it.
Sure.
Sorry, you don't have any choice. You're going to be made free, and you will have to live in the real game, in real life, and see what that's like. What I could see that actually doing is bringing bringing essentially a choice, is humans now being put into a position where they can judge the judgers. Sybil System, as it is actually not just an impartial, machine brain. It's a bunch of people that are throwing away impartiality for the purpose of the greater good.
Right.
And now characters like Akane and Kogami and Makishima will be put potentially into a position to judge them.
Yeah, and
what will they choose?
Very cool.
What will they choose?
Oh yeah, it's
because I think this show is going to end on a choice from Akane. Makishima and Kogami are too similar.
Yes.
Yeah, I think Kogami has.
I mean, they're very different, but
they're very different. But I would say there's almost no hope for Kogami.
Yeah.
He's stuck in his own game.
Right.
He won't play any other.
Yes.
And same with Makishima, but Akane might be willing to be impartial.
And I am.
Isn't
so
that interesting to think about? Like,
oh yeah.
Like, what role Akane has kind of been playing backseat to Makishima right now.
Yes.
Like, Makishima has been the main character for the last
and that's
few
been
episodes.
fantastic because this whole like 3 different sides thing in this conflict is amazing.
And you predicted that a long time ago.
Yes.
Yeah, that was like episode 5 or 6. I remember you saying, what if there were 3 parts to this whole thing? You had the MWPSB, Makishima, and then the Sibyl System. I'm like, yeah, that sounds good, but like we don't know what that'll look like. And here it is, guys. Here's what it looks like.
Yeah,
so
and it's glorious.
We called the clones aspect of
we called the clones. Yep. We called the brains being used as a part of Sibyl System.
Well, yeah, but we didn't know if it would need the rest of the human body. We just knew that the cyberization of what we learned in that episode.
Right, that was basically some very clever hinting, because it was saying, this is what cyberization can do, and then
what it can't do.
And what it can't do, so it's like...
Oh.
Yeah.
But this is different, because what they said was that there's a specific group of people that are piloting these bodies. So my question is, all 200 plus of them, are they all still around? Now, here's the thing. They mentioned 50 years ago, right?
Yeah.
What if the Sibyl System is on its it's got a ticking clock of its own death? Basically, not every brain will be able to last long enough for the Sibyl System to keep going without getting new brains.
Right, that's why they're constantly searching for new ones.
Yes.
And they did say...
And it's frantic. It's not
But the human brain can live for 150 years, is what they said.
I think that was the number they used.
And then here's the other thing. So they're bringing in all the new brains and stuff. They can't have them all out there because they said they need to have at least 200 staying behind to basically just run
the Sibyl System.
Right. And they have 240 or something like that.
Yeah.
Right. So all the brains that are there are not controlling bodies. So the maximum number of bodies they could have is, 40 or something like that.
Right, but are they like drawing lots in digital kind of space of like, all right, who gets to pilot a body and be a god today?
I think at this point,
I kind of like the more administrative type of guy, so I'm gonna hang back. I don't care. You guys throw lots,
Sure, but
they're retaining any type of individuality,
right? But it's probably this wibbly wobbly timey wimey thing where they're like both and neither at the same time.
Sure.
So they just have this sort of consensus, thing about it. Oh, but this is
good because it's not Evangelion weird stuff. This was all perfectly planned and set up.
Oh yeah.
They're not going into metaphysical stuff with the soul or anything like that. It's very much it's very much what the advancement of the digital age is actually looking like to be nowadays.
Right.
To bring in a little bit of realism here, right now there are a lot of really rich people and a lot of really powerful people that are taking steps to figure out what this world will look like post-singularity. And singularity being the perfect AI.
That can improve upon itself.
So will humans need to upgrade and integrate themselves into this post-singularity world with merging ourselves with artificial intelligence? And that is actually a thing that's being made right now. And I don't think it's actually as scary as this cautionary tale is putting it out to be. But it is a real thing. This is not science fiction. So Psycho-Pass as a show came out, 2011 or something like that?
I think it was like 2012.
Yeah, something like that.
Yeah, maybe 2014, but I don't think so.
This is kind of telling, though. This show was made with the real-world message very much in mind.
Absolutely.
They were thinking, okay, there is going to be there are going to be people in the future that will watch this,
right?
And we want this to be tied as close as it can to a potential real world future.
And that's why we love dystopian sci-fi type stories, because it is that, you know, idea of
this could happen.
This could happen, right?
Right. Also, they brought up something world building. They snuck it in there. It was very well established. Japan is the only country currently with any form of law.
Yeah.
What?
So...
What? Meaning the world right now is just in defunct. It's anarchy everywhere. It's chaos. And that would be interesting.
I almost think that it might be like Sybyl's own special definition of law.
Oh, sure.
Right? You know?
Sure.
That it's basically saying, like, they have, you know, pitiful little guidelines or whatever.
Things,
but we have law.
Which is interesting, because I wonder how Sybil justifies it with itself. I think because of the egocentric aspect of the Sybil system being governed by human beings, there is an element of unable to see their own corruption.
Sure.
Like, do you wonder what kind of selfish acts these individuals, quote unquote, within Sybil system are doing that makes it, imperfect?
Right. Well,
like,
and
what's an example of something that they could be doing? Is Kaguri an example of that?
Possibly.
Like, not only just what happened to him recently, but actually what happened when he was young.
Pegged at 5 years old? Possibly.
Yeah. But that's kind of things I don't think we'll ever really know.
Right. And I don't think there's really all that much individuality to them. They claim to have it, but I think a lot of it's been lost, so you wouldn't have too much of that.
Well, what do you determine to be individuality? A sense of self and free will?
Well, they said that they basically divorced themselves from the more human desires, right?
Well, they did and they didn't. They actually just said that the physical desires are wonderful, but the pleasures of the human mind are infinite, meaning that they essentially chose higher pleasures.
Right.
They didn't give up pleasure.
Right. No, yes, absolutely. But because they're basically at the top of the food chain right now, there's not a whole lot for them to be selfish about other than maintaining their status as top of the food chain and increasing what it is that means. Yeah, survival. Things like that. But
that's where I think the next step is going towards.
Right. But that and that doesn't really go down to the individual level. That's all them together as one, you know.
Which is interesting, because that would mean that they wouldn't devolve into factions within the Sybil System's collective.
Yes, because they already have everything they want. And and anything they want beyond this is something that their interests are all aligned.
Well, that's the thing, though. We can't know that.
That's true. We can't know that. There could be brains that they just are with for a while, and then they're like, you know what? Who wants to vote? This one's just not worth it. And they get rid of it.
That was the idea I saw, was that there's this island essentially of gods, and they every once in a while go, all right, who's gonna get culled? And no one wants to get culled, so they all fall in line essentially with the collective thing. But one of the most staggeringly obvious things, whenever you get a large group of individuals or beings or people or what have you into a community, there forms a certain sort of give and take, push and pull relationship between all the people there. And often, this is quite interesting, there is a group of people that end up being the pushers, basically those that kind of take and kind of make things happen.
Right.
And it's pretty sick when you look at it in I would say an above kind of perspective. Because you look at it and you go, whoa, why are the others letting this happen to them?
Right, and I think the reason why this isn't a problem for them is because of the integration that they've had to parallelize themselves and stuff like that.
Yeah, maybe.
It makes it so that there's not a whole lot of distinction of who is causing what to happen.
Sure.
So while they're in that synced up thing, they're all, together doing their thing. Yeah. And then when they go out and are separate, then that's when they have more of their individuality and stuff.
Right.
But then they still long to go back to the muck and goo, you know.
Yeah. Maybe it's not all as cut and dry as she's letting on, and this is the sales pitch. And as always, guys, when you give a sales pitch,
fine print.
You do not give everything away. And that is basically what I think this one did. They gave Makishima a really good sales pitch. A really good one, and it's one that they've all determined would be the highest rate of success.
Sure, yeah.
But it doesn't behoove them really anything to bring in someone that could potentially upset the system.
Right.
So they would, as a collective, absorb his threat
Right.
into themselves.
Yes, so that it gets neutralized. Yeah.
Yes, so therefore, I would say reducing at least his free will.
Right, and that was one of the things that, like, you know, he seems to be like, oh, like, we still maintain our own, you know, free will, and he's like, really?
Yeah, his BS detector is going like, yeah, no, don't think so. It wouldn't really be worth it for them if he had that much free will, because he could at least damage maybe one other brain.
That's one of the problems is that I was thinking, well, okay, he'd probably just get subsumed into the thing.
Yeah.
But if they did do something where he joined into the muck and goo and then basically tried to like take it over, like that would have been just one of the weirdest things. If Kane and the gang basically had to take down Makishima, who now is the Sibyl System.
Well, that was one of the theories I had a long time ago. Was maybe I think I had maybe about 4 episodes ago. Was that
where
they would need
you are
him.
going to be our new champion.
Yeah, you will be the champion of the Sibyl System, and they're like, he's like, ha, okay, you idiots. Yeah. And he takes over the whole thing and essentially brings it down with him. And that was the idea, was that he would commit essentially a mass suicide act within the Sibyl System and shut it down. And then that would catapult, you know, the story forward into a logical ending.
And I like this so much more because, like,
I do too.
The idea that, okay, Makishima has been like a monster like this whole time, but this was like, this showed his own, albeit maybe like twisted, humanity. Because because like he was so like I love when he said, I absolutely love this game, or I love the idea of playing this game, or I can't remember exactly what he said, but I just...
Oh, I think he was just like, but I love this game.
Like, yeah.
You could feel not the hubris, but like the
desire.
And almost like lust. He's like, oh, I just love this game.
And I absolutely love that, because when you have someone that is like, especially with like villains, but just in general in any kind of story, whenever they're like the sort of the manipulators, super smart, and they have plans for everything and stuff, a lot of times they tend to lose that sense of desire, because they'll have that aloof, removed thing, which they did with Makishima. They didn't shy away from that, but then they still made it so that he is absolutely invested in what is going on in this world that he's in. Those things that makes for a great main character.
Which is interesting, because now that the show is maybe now moving into its final act,
you thought this was my final form.
Right, the final players are 4 in particular. You can almost say 5 if you count the MWPSB as its own force, but Akane, Kogami, Makishima, and Sibyl.
Right.
So those 4 are the ones that are going to make all the big choices. The MWPSB, I feel, are going to get sacrificed in the altar of this story coming to its conclusion.
Sure. Okay.
This is the point, Jacob, where characters like Genosa, Masayoka, Kunizuka are very much in danger.
Yep.
Because Genosa, it's interesting. I want to almost do like a Sibyl System scan ourselves of these characters and go, okay, which one has the highest
likelihood to die?
No, the highest likelihood to be for the Sibyl System after the reveal. So here's the thing, though. Here's the thing. We have 2 enforcers, right?
So Masayoka's definitely not going to be for it.
Masayoka is 100% not for it.
Right. Kunizuka,
I would say
mostly not for it.
Mostly not for it. I would say actually Kunizuka is a problem.
Right.
Because what we know of her backstory, this kind of ends justify the means part, is something that I could see her going, okay, if I actually get a choice here, there's no way I'm for this.
Right.
But if she feels like she doesn't have a choice and her own survival deems it necessary to go this, then she might go the other way.
Right, but I think that will follow with the pack mentality. So if the rest of the MWPSB is saying, no, this is screwed up, then she'll be like, yeah.
But do you know who's on the needle right here? Who has the Genosa?
But
he might completely swing the other way.
Okay, that could theoretically...
I meant that he would be against it.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I was gonna...
No.
Yeah, all right, I'm totally on board with that.
I mean that he's right now been the dog of the system, and that's what his character basically represents.
Yep. But that's...
But I think this might be it.
And I'm really excited to see... Oh, but I'm also not, because that I could totally see it being something where he gives his last stand of defiance and then he just dies.
No, think about it. who is Masayoka to him? His father.
Yeah.
His whole father's existence and reason that he's an enforcer and everything was to prop up a system that he does not have any faith in anymore because he knows that it's all a lie.
Yep.
If you get lied to enough, one of the incredible things that I've noticed about human beings in general is what we get lied to enough, when we get deceived enough, we become aware of the deception and we feel that, that pull, that manipulation, we can become powerful forces of change because we just suddenly rise up and go, enough.
Yeah.
And one of the things I could see Genosa having his speech, maybe before he dies or something, is, no, enough.
Yeah.
I'm done.
Yep.
And he throws everything away. The actual character that I think has the highest likelihood of being for the Sibyl System right now is the one character that bridges the gap between criminally asymptomatic, the MWPSB, Kogami, Makishima, everyone, the main character, Akane. We don't know why she is the way she is. She is actually the true anomaly of this whole show.
Absolutely.
She is potentially not criminally asymptomatic, has control over her psychopaths, has the free will to operate in the system, has Sibyl System's approval of being...
Yes.
Oh my god, wait a minute. Oh my god, wait a minute.
Oh, okay.
I'm going into tinfoil hat.
Yeah.
Guys, I'm like reading a message from the beyond.
All right.
Akane was given full permission by the Sibyl System to be anything she wanted as a test, because they predicted, the Sibyl System essentially predicted, that this person would be their salvation. But what they don't know, the Sibyl System doesn't know, is she's actually not only thing that's going to preserve the Sibyl System, but also lead it into its next stage of evolution, which will be actually beneficial for humanity.
Okay.
Oh, that just feels so good. I got just tingles doing that.
If nothing else, just the fact that there's a second season means that her brain can't be taken and absorbed into the Sibyl System.
No, I don't think she would make that choice, but I think she would make a choice to preserve it rather than destroy it. I'm thinking that's where it gets awkward between her, Kogami, and Makishima.
I can see where you're coming from.
No, because it's a three-party group.
Yes.
Who are the three main characters right now?
Right.
Makishima, Kogami, and Akane.
Yeah.
Kogami is the old way. Makishima is what he thinks is the new way, and Akane is the convergence between the two.
Okay.
You don't like it fully, but maybe stew in it a little bit.
Okay. All right. It does not pass the sniff test at all.
Okay.
But I like the idea because here's the thing. They have totally been setting up Akane to be Endgame material.
She's the main character.
Well, yeah, she's the main character, but the way they've been not touching on all the development and stuff for her around the criminally asymptomatic and stuff like that, too obviously, right? Mm-hmm. They've been doing it subtly, sprinkled in as the show has gone on.
Yes.
That means that it's going to be something for the very end, right?
Yep.
I don't think it's going to go that far.
But which parts do you think it will move towards in particular? Her making the choice about the Sibyl System?
Yes, her making a choice about the Sibyl System, absolutely.
Do you think she'll just end it, basically, instead?
No. I think, if anything, Makishima and maybe... I think Kogami's the one that's wanting more to end it. Right?
Well, yeah. Right. I think a lot of people
will want to end it.
I think Makishima wants it actually more than Kogami.
Right. I was stuck between saying Makishima or Kogami. Mm-hmm. But with Akane, she is going to do something big. I don't know what.
So why does mine not pass the sniff test then? You seem to be struggling with any ideas, though. It's more of a feeling. Then.
Because Akane is not actually going to want... She's had her problems with the Sibyl System so far. She definitely has. So even if she decides to okay, whoa, we can't just descend into chaos here, right? Which I totally buy. I'm totally on board with that.
She is an order person.
Right, she is an order person. She sees what happens when things go crazy, and it's bad. Right. So I think, if anything, she'll be the one that helps basically when Kogami and Makishima are going on their just burn it all, thing, or whatever it is that they end up doing, of basically trying to take down Sibyl. She'll be the one that will make it so that there is actually some world after.
Well, yeah, mine is just a way that she can do that.
Right, but
why can't she respond after they do their part 2 change the Sibyl System, and then she preserves the bit through her choice?
Sure.
And being essentially that anomaly. That's not going to get absorbed into it, of course.
I guess the main thing is okay, how do you keep the Sibyl System going without the brains? You can't.
You have the MWPSB. You basically accept that the system is flawed.
Well,
and you go, we're going to make people aware that the system is flawed.
Sure, absolutely.
And we're going to move forward by expanding things like the MWPSB.
Okay,
and make a move towards the better with a more transparent kind of setting.
But still, the whole thing that's computing the psychopasses and processing all that stuff is the brains. Without that, it wouldn't work.
The idea is that I think what we're going to get maybe pulled up to is someone's going to give... basically, okay, this is your choice. Here is the after effects of your choice. Basically, this AI intelligence will speak to them in the Combined Collective, and they go, are you sure you want to do this? We can't stop you, but if you do this, Japan will become like all the other nations, essentially. We will have, 100 years of death and chaos and just everything going crazy. Society will rebuild itself eventually. But 3 generations, at least, going through this type of thing will upend everything forever, and we have no way of actually predicting a society after. We just know that there will be living people. That's it.
Okay.
With the alternative of her basically bringing in the MWPSB, it's like a compromise where Sibyl doesn't completely destroy everything by becoming the new overlord and ruling everything dictatorially, but control is basically put back into the hands of people who are not enslaved by the collective of the Sibyl System.
So they get rid of the psychopasses?
No.
Then the brains have to stay?
The brains do have to stay, yes.
And the brains will only last for 150 years, which means they have to be bringing in new brains.
Yeah,
constantly.
And that's why I think actually the story falls apart in the second season, according to a lot of the people we've talked about, is that they don't know a way to perfectly continue off of such an ending. Well, so I'm not wanting to be too meta here, but one of the endings I'm thinking will kind of happen is that it will be open-ended in certain areas. And the reason that it will be open-ended is that no one can truly predict the future. But the changes that we'll make will ask questions about what kind of choices we're willing to make in the now for the future of humanity.
Yes. And then the second season is living out that future
in a
that
badly
was set up. Or at least in a way that collapses it down to just one possibility.
Sure, possibly. How do you think that Kogami and Makishima's conversation in the end credits will continue into the next episode? Because I don't see them teaming up.
No.
And I hope you don't think that's what has to happen.
No, absolutely not. But I think that they're not going to be strictly mortal enemies. So because it's sort of this thing of, the enemy of my enemy is my friend kind of a thing, they're not going to be teaming up, but they will have similar goals at the very least.
See, I think Kogami is the problem here.
And that he won't actually be able to see past that Makishima is this monster?
Well, we shouldn't either.
Well, we shouldn't either, absolutely.
But the point is that Kogami is a person who is stubborn, but I would say it's more than that. His goal was decided from the beginning of the show.
Yes.
We are not going to see that change. What we are going to see is we're going to see him accommodate, I would think, more of what Makishima is.
Don't you mean Akane date?
Yeah, funny. For the purpose of his goals being realized.
Okay.
And I think if he is even at the slightest going to team up with Makishima, it's going to be the swiftest and most brutal of betrayals, so to speak. in this entire show.
Sure.
Because once he has an opportunity to actually stop Makishima,
or
it's
vice
going to
versa.
be over.
Yeah.
That could actually be interesting. Maybe her Kane's decision is not going to be whether or not it's going to be like we predicted. It's not going to be about the Sibyl System. It's just going to be about whether or not Makishima lives.
Yeah. Or Kogami lives.
Oh, I think she might have that point where she needs to point a gun at Kogami.
But she's not going to kill him.
I think that's actually going to be the point where she lets Kogami do his due and
sure.
kill Makishima.
Okay. All right.
But I think she needs to make an even bigger choice, which will be how does the Sibyl System continue moving forward? Because her arc ends with her being the leader of the MWPSB. It's obvious. Like Genosa is a failed detective, and he needs to capitulate his failure by turning against the Sibyl System.
Exactly. Yes.
And it's going to be perfect because
sad.
It's going to be really sad because his character has gone through that kind of we hated him, and then we kind of empathize with him, and then suddenly, oh my god, we love him.
Yeah.
It's that swift kind of sudden change in a 1-2 beat where we go, oh buddy, I feel you, and then oh no, like,
and then they're going to take it to the max.
Yep.
And then he's going to die.
I don't think he's going to die.
You don't?
No.
Oh.
I think that Genosa has so much potential as a character.
Okay. All right. Yeah. Okay. I know. I can see what you're saying.
That it doesn't make sense to just kill him. I think we need to break him.
Ooh.
I think that him learning the Sibyl System is all a lie will basically make the potential death of his father and all this other stuff that he's gone through and the all that stuff basically be the thing that kills the current character of Genosa.
My name is Genosa. You killed my father. Prepare to die.
Oh my gosh. That's just too good. Like, that's too good.
It's
oh my
terrible,
gosh.
But
no, I love that. That is amazing. Okay, so this is actually kind of funny. I don't know how many more episodes are left in season 1.
I don't either.
I'm kind of glad we don't know.
Right.
Because we would predict different things based upon how many more episodes we know we have left.
Right.
I'm not sure if it's a full 24, though.
I think it might be 22, but I don't know.
Yeah. I don't want to look ahead. I'm just
don't tell us.
Yeah, don't tell us.
Yeah. That's one of the best things when you don't know whether it's the last episode or not.
But have you noticed that the pacing in terms of story that they've actually gone through is slowing down and they're focusing more on big reveals and characters now?
Yes, and that's fantastic.
I like that change.
Yeah.
I know that they've been hitting big plot points, but they actually haven't been moving from plot point to plot point very quickly, which is good because this all feels like the finale.
Yes.
Like I feel like I'm in a Full Metal Alchemist Brotherhood season-long finale.
Yep, and it's
intense. So good.
Oh.
It almost feels like they when they shifted cours, like early in there when
after Makishima
after the Konizuka kind of awkward episode in the middle of the tension, they suddenly went, all right, let's ramp it up and finish
Let's
this.
go. Yeah.
And they just hit every point one after another.
This train has no brakes.
Right, but I wonder if this is where they always wanted to have the show and they needed that kind of episode.
They needed the foundation, because like, I mean, looking back, and we kind of suspected this when we were going through those episodes, but looking back, they all had very important things that they were putting in as far as, setting up the characters, setting up the world, and
preparing the plot points for Makishima's grand master plan.
Yep,
and
preparing the twists so that they didn't seem like they were being pulled out of their butts.
Yep.
This is quality.
Oh yeah,
this is quality, and I totally see why it made number 19 on the top 100 anime in Japan and stuff.
It's not done yet.
Yep. And I cannot believe that whenever we need to tell somebody about this show, we gotta say, so it's this sci-fi cop drama.
It's Minority Report the anime, but a million times better.
Yeah. Just watch it. It's all about like friendship and and
no, we're not gonna treat this like a Madoka Magica situation. Even though they were written by the same person,
and you kind of have to go through the same process. Like there's the foundational episodes at the beginning that aren't a great representation of what's to come. They're totally necessary, and they have all the foreshadowing stuff.
Wait a minute. Hold on. Remember when Makishima was talking about earlier? He's like, this is playing out like a parody of a Philip K. Dick novel.
Yeah.
This is literally how you have to describe a Philip K. Dick novel to someone, because if you actually talk about what it's about, you've spoiled the whole novel, essentially.
Right.
It's like when we were trying to tell people about The Man in the High Castle. There's a show, The Man in the High Castle, is just really good. We can't tell people actually what it's really about, because if they do, the whole thing is ruined.
Yeah.
And it's funny because actually the premise is really good. The initial kind of early premise.
Oh, yeah.
And it's like,
It's
that's great. And actually the Psychopaths premise, as Minority Report the anime, it's pretty good.
Yeah.
But that's super narrow of a view compared to what it actually is. I don't think I've had a show that's provided more social commentary also than this show in particular.
This is pretty over the top. Like
I
love it.
I really loved V for Vendetta. That was probably one of the best social commentary shows or movies out there I've ever seen. But show-wise in particular,
and especially like
the cake.
Anime. Like
anime, whatever.
Well, actually, I would say that's actually maybe one of the places where you can get it more because, no limitations of live action and stuff like that. Yeah. But I just still can't get over the fact that it starts out as a cop show. Like I was a little bit upset with the whole like plastination murders and stuff like that. I'm like, yes, I get it. Let's move on. Like, she's not that interesting. Like, let's go.
And you doubted it.
I doubted it.
Wow.
I'm sorry.
I was actually told great things about Psychopaths a long time ago, and one of the funny things is that the people that told me about this show, I didn't like their taste and stuff generally, so I said, no, this isn't really for me. Now my tastes, are a lot more, I would say broad. They're a lot broader, and I watch more stuff in general. And this, I am so glad that when I watched it, it was with someone that I could discuss all this kind of stuff.
Yeah, that too. Oh man, watching this by yourself would suck. Like, I mean, it'd be amazing, but like,
you would have no will to like slow down. And
exactly. You just blitz through the whole thing, and then you just be like, "Oh, that was great. It's over. Okay. What now?" Like,
I can't imagine binging this show. Sorry, I know that a lot of people do binge this show, and I could see you actually having some issue not binging it in the beginning parts, but
and I would totally have a problem willpower wise, as crazy episodes like this come out, being like, so what, now I just wait a week for the next episode? That'd suck. But it's
I think that once we started getting into maybe like the 4th episode or so, I was
wasn't that when the plastination person showed up? Or maybe it was when, but that was also when Makishima showed up or something.
Yeah, I think it was once Makishima started doing things. It was maybe a little bit when they started doing Kogami's backstory and things like that.
Sure.
But I was like, okay, this show is going to be very good. And one of the things I think this show did very well, and I just want to bring it up again because they did that little bit with the world outside being dropped as a little bit of world building there, is they did incredible world building with this show.
Absolutely incredible.
If you think about every single episodic episode that this show had,
it all did some very different aspect of world building.
And they all are relevant.
Yep.
All of them. Like, even the one with Kanizuka.
Sure, yes, absolutely. What about the one with the holographic, like, virtual reality stuff?
The holographic virtual reality stuff.
Like that came into play like in the earlier episodes.
It came into play,
but not really for like the long term stuff.
Well, see, we don't know that fully, but one of the things that virtual reality always brings into play as a theme is the world around you being perceived as real or not. How are you able to tell and separate what's real and what's not? And that immediately puts the Sibyl System into question. Is the Sibyl System real or not?
Yeah.
Because it's what you're seeing all around you.
Yep.
And I immediately was like, oh, well, I mean, that was already obvious that the Sibyl System was going to be flawed.
Right, they set that up very clearly in the first episode.
Right, but I would then immediately question in my head, is the Sibyl System even what they're saying it is? And that's maybe where the idea came from of, there's something else to it. There's that extra element to it that's not obvious yet.
Do you remember when we watched the very first episode and we were like, okay, hold on, guys. We love this idea, but the whole Sibyl system seems too one-sided. Like,
oh,
like,
sure.
it's just too much of a problem, right?
Right.
How are they going to have good conflict? Like, how can they go after bad guys when they're doing this, so obviously terrible thing?
Well, now we know.
Yep, we do.
Okay, guys. So this is a fantastic episode. I am dreading and excited for the next couple episodes because the discussion is going to be even crazier then. I can just tell. As for our theories and stuff, we'll just have to wait and see.
Yeah.
But if you want to watch the next episode right now, go check out the link in the description below for our Patreon's early access. And get on Discord. We want to chat with you guys about stuff.
Especially this.
Yeah. It'd be pretty fun. All right, guys. We'll see you later. But until then, we're Semblance of Sanity. I'm Caleb.
I'm Jacob.
And we'll see you all next time.